Hi, I'm Kurt Rumens, the president of Travis Industries, and I promised you my world-famous chili recipe. Actually, it's not world-famous, it's confined to about 10 friends. But it could be world-famous after this gets out. What we've got, we have a nickname for it, it's called Pants on Fire Chili, and you'll understand why when we get done. Let's look at the ingredients, what makes this so special. We have got freshly harvested kidney beans. These are hand-picked this morning, canned for us specifically for this interview. And we've got the people over at Hunt's, maybe a limited edition tomato sauce, tomato paste, and tomato puree. We'll use those. And we searched the mountains of Chile to find this organic chili powder. Yes, it looks like an ordinary one out of a Safeway store, but don't be fooled. This is special chili powder. The meat, we have grass-fed beef, we have sweet Italian sausage, we have a chicken breast, and we have ground turkey. We move on to sweet onions. Don't use regular onions, don't use red onions, sweet onions. 3 monster onions is what we're gonna use. And we do have some fresh tomatoes. These didn't make it in the cans this morning, so we're gonna add it to the chili this afternoon. And which gives it its fire, vim, and vigor. Habanero, jalapeno. In one of those two, you're gonna love it. And we've got celery. It's the whole stalk we're gonna use. We're not gonna use a stick or two. We use the whole thing, and we'll show you how to use some of the tools of the trade. This is one of my favorite. This, you can shave with it, you can cut your hair, you can cut your friend's hair, or you can dice vegetables. It's gonna be a wonderful addition to our cooking tools today. A sharp knife. And we are gonna get started with something a little special. I'm gonna put a pot on our wood stove, and this is the Liberty wood stove. This is the 2020, the next generation wood stove. You can see we've got a cheerful fire. The stove is hot. You've got 2 cooking surfaces here. You've got a lower one directly in contact with the stove, the fire itself. And you've got a warming tray above. I am putting some fresh apple cider from Travis's orchard. Forget about the label. This is directly from Travis's orchard. We'll take about a half dozen cardamom seeds, and we're gonna crush them with a spoon into this little tray here to release some of the power of cardamom. I hear people smacking things around off camera, probably breaking glass. What I've done, I've released the internal part of the cardamom seed, gonna put it in the cider, and we're gonna let that just warm up as we get those cinnamon sticks. And I need 3. Perfect. All right, we put those in, we put the top in, and we forget about it. We're gonna put it on top of the stove and let it just warm up. It's gonna be a wonderful smell, it's gonna be a wonderful taste. The cardamom and the cinnamon really do add quite a bit to the cider. I think it's essential that we have beer here for doing chili. I'll show you where we use it in the recipe. And we use a little sugar. We top it off with sour cream at the end of the day. And with cheese, never ever use pre-shredded cheese in the garbage can. You wanna use a block of cheese and you wanna shred it so it's fresh. This chili will not feel the love if you use pre-shredded cheese. We do have olive oil. We use everything, all the meat gets seared in olive oil, virgin olive oil. So let's get started. I'm gonna start chopping and slicing and dicing, and give me a minute, we're right back. All right, don't try this at home. You gotta try it at home. You can't make this if you don't try it at home. Okay, we got that out of the way. We take the end of the celery off, turn it around. Let's get all the rough ends gone. Oop, they're gone, they're all over the floor, they're all over the studio, they're all over the cameraman. Now, you wanna slowly dice. Keep your fingers well away from the celery, do the whole stalk at one time. And just come down that stalk, and we are going to have all the celery this chili deserves. Now, I know you've seen the cooking shows, this is not one of them. This is a secret recipe, this is an unveiling. So it's a little slower than the cook shows. Okay, you got it. That's the way the celery looks. Okay, if I could have that plate, I'm gonna put the celery in that. All right. And the 5-second rule does not apply here in the bitchin' kitchen. If anything falls on the floor, hey, this factory is clean. I'm gonna hand this back over to you and put some more vegetables up. Now, the fun part here is the onions. I usually ask for a volunteer, but I'll go fast and I'll show you how we do this. We cut the ends off these big onions. And these are Walla Walla sweet onions. We like to use things made in Washington, Oregon, basically the West Coast. We love the West Coast. And so we get the peels off, and then we're gonna show you the favorite way to dice onions. We take this little tool here, put the onions in this big wooden bowl. You have to use a wooden bowl. And you just start coming down, I don't know if you can see this with the camera angle. And you just start dicing the onions with this. And you need a big bowl with high sides so the onions don't leap and jump and try to get away. These are fresh onions. Again, these are free-range onions, and they're used to a lot of space. They will take off if you let them. And they're flying left and right, and they're about ready to go. Okay, we're gonna put those, look at that, just moments. That's the tool. Okay, I'll put these aside, and we are gonna now get these tomatoes diced up. We're gonna add those to the chili. They'll add a little freshness to it. Forget the label, they were picked out of my garden this morning, and we are bountiful here in Washington State as we go through and slice and dice all this wonderful produce. And if you miss the tomato and get your hand, just keep on slicing away. Just keep on dicing. Don't let your guests know that's not the tomato color you're seeing. Okay, great. Can I have that white tray? All right, that is all the vegetables except the habanero. I leave that for last. Okay, let's stop for a moment and we'll move on to the meats. This is perhaps the most exciting and dangerous part of this whole experiment. So we are going to add a little olive oil into the cooking pan here. And we are going to then add the ground turkey, ground beef. And we're going to take it like this, and we're going to take it like that. And now we're going to put that right on the stove and let it get started. Okay. Okay, cook away. All right, it's time. A little more. Putting the life on the line. We're gonna do this big old chicken breast. We're gonna cut it horizontally and then diagonally, and north, east, south, and west. We're gonna cube this little sucker. And one thing always annoys me about chicken, it's always trying to get away. It's always very slippery. Okay, now we cross the other direction. We dice it nice little chunks, and we will put it in the other frying pan. And the chicken and the sweet sausage will take a little longer. So we got that right there. I'm gonna take the whole stack of sausage and with my sharp knife, go through it and cut it in little chunks. I like the rolled sausage like this, as opposed to like ground sausage. This then cooks down to nice little bite-sized bits of flavor in your chili. Okay, that's all cooked up. I'm gonna add it back to this dish. We'll add it to a pan, and we will be ready to go in moments. Now, let me grab another pan right here, and I'll put some olive oil in it. And this will take about probably 15 minutes to cook. And we have trivets. If it's too hot, if it's starting to smoke or your stove is a little too hot, you can use a trivet, and this will keep the pan a little cooler. Putting this down first. Move my cider up to the upper level. Put this down. Get the meat in the frying pan. Okay. Did you see that? Just like Benihana. That knife trick was incredible. Don't do this at home. Okay, this is going on the stove, and we'll be back in a few minutes to go to the next step. Okay, let me see the stove temperature. We added a couple of pieces of wood to it. The cooking surface down here is at 450 degrees Fahrenheit. The meat is browning nicely. We've got the sausage and the chicken over here. We have got the ground turkey, the ground beef over here. Have not seasoned it yet. Okay, and we've got the cider up on the upper top. Look at this stove, isn't this beautiful? Again, you got a warming surface up there, you got a cooking surface down here, and you have this magic fire. I like to stand as I'm cooking a little to the side. I mean, these things are heaters. A man It's warm over here today. It is warm. So while this meat is cooking, I'm gonna go ahead and we are gonna saute the vegetables. We're gonna put a little olive oil in this big pot. This will be the ultimate chili pot right here. So we're gonna add all the vegetables simultaneously. Try not to get them on my counter, try to get them in the pot. And even though that fills up about half the pot, they will cook down quite a bit. So you got oil in there. I'm gonna put them up on the upper level and just let those go for a while. And ultimately, we're gonna add these other ingredients. So right now, we'll let that cook. And you've been wondering what the beer is for. What we do, this is typically, the recipe calls for 1 chicken breast, 5 sausages, 2 pounds, a pound of ground beef, a pound of the turkey, and 2 beers. This is a 2-beer chili. Takes 2 beers to cook this chili on a wood stove. So you save the rest of the beer for later. After the chili's made, then you finish the rest of the beer with the chili. So we call it Pants on Fire 2-beer chili. Okay, we'll be back in just a minute. We'll add the rest of the ingredients. We are now, the surface's temperature varies between 450 and 500 degrees Fahrenheit. All the meat's cooked. I've combined all 4 meats now in this one pan, put a cover on it to make sure everything's cooked internally. Vegetables are sauteed. We're gonna add the meat to the vegetables, then start adding some sauces to it. So we'll take this off. It's a little warm. Don't try this at home. And we are now going to carefully move all the meat. I'm gonna get a hot glove 1 second. We have got from Williams and Sonoma, the fancy hot gloves. It looks like a t-shirt, but it's not. It's the latest thing. And we are gonna now combine all this meat with that vegetable. Slowly, look at it go. It wants to be free, it's so fresh. Okay, we've got almost a full, entirely full pot there. We're gonna do it and give it 1 stir, mix all that in there. 5-second rule applies, out we go. Okay. And we're mixing the vegetables with all those meats. And you can see this is quite the delectable. I'm making a mess on my stove. It'll clean right up. In fact, they'll be probably the most tasty little tidbits. Okay, we've got that all combined. We are going to take half of that jalapeno pepper and slice it in very fine slices, little tiny strips. So if you get some, you don't get a lot at one bite. So I'm gonna take about 1/4 of that, dice it up nice and tiny, and add it to that chili, and it's breathtaking. Okay, onto the stove, in you go. Okay, what we add here, we add some diced tomatoes, about half the can. We have got all those fresh tomatoes in there already, and we add 1 whole can, large can of the sauce, tomato sauce. And we're gonna take an entire jar of the specially purpose designed and gathered organic chili powder from the mountains in Peru, and we're gonna add this whole container right now. And then we're gonna mix it in slowly and with love and purpose. Wood stove cooking. Look at that fire, I tell you. These beautiful stoves heat your home, and you can cook on a pinch if you want to show off, or if you lose your power. Hey, energy independence takes a whole new meaning when you can cook on these beautiful wood stoves. So you want to get all the chili powder worked into the sauce, and I'm looking at this right now. I'm going to add a little more sauce to it. A lot of this is just by look. You look at it, it's a little thick, so I'm going to add a little more tomato sauce in here. And then my last secret ingredient, it's a secret ingredient, it's cane sugar. We add a little bit to take some of the acid out of all that tomato, and you get that hot, sweet, so you get a little bit, and you it's about, I like the pot this size, about half a cup of sugar. You mix it in, And now comes the coup de grace. We add the kidney beans. So we add a full can of kidney beans to it. Some parts of the states, they don't like beans in their chili. I like to add a few. Right now I could tell I'm a little shy, so I'm gonna add one more bean. Okay, perfect. And perfect will have to do. Okay, ready to stir that in? We stir it in and we let it simmer. We let it boil. We let the juices flow. And I tell you what, you're gonna have some chili. Your friends are gonna wanna come over your house for the football game. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but around football time, I sure do get a lot of people showing up looking for chili. There we go. I'm gonna let that simmer. Leave it about 5 minutes down that lower burner, then I'll put it up for the afternoon. Typically, I'd put that up in the upper region and let it go for the rest of the afternoon. While that's cooking, you wanna take your cheese and you wanna use a grater, grate that cheese up, get a nice pile of fresh cheese, and if your guests so desire, I'd add a little dollop of sour cream on top of that, and when we're done, it's perfection. So we'll come back to this in just a minute, look at that final creation. Okay, I can tell the chili is done. We have gone through 2 beers, and it smells wonderful, so I think it's time to dish it up. We're gonna take this beautiful concoction, and you can see it's got some, it is ready. Come home to Papa. Here we go. Sausage, ground turkey, ground beef, celery, onions, a little sugar, tomato sauce, spices to season, a little jalapeno. And to tell you what, we're gonna add some cheese to that. Look at that, some ground cheese on there. Let that melt in. Oh, perfect. And we're gonna take a little dollop of sour cream on the top of it. And ladies and gentlemen, we have pure perfection. You add that to a little bit of spiced cider, and you have got a holiday going on now. I'm gonna try to do this without spilling, so this is probably not the right kind of pot to do that in, but we have got some hot apple cider with cardamom and cinnamon. It smells fantastic. This is how we spend the long, cold winters in Seattle. So there it is, there's your recipe. Have fun, be careful, watch the digits. Have a long, cold winter. Enjoy those wood stoves and fireplaces and pellet stoves. See you guys later.